So the first thing we're going to look at is how to log in as a student. So I'm going to select I'm a student, and all students will use their MSIS number and LCSD as their password. So what you're looking at here is the student's home screen, and anything within the Renaissance platform that's been assigned to the student will show up here. And as you can see, Accelerated Reader is listed right here on the left-hand side. Now, on the right-hand side menu, this is just a running track of all of the different AR quizzes that the student has completed. Now, before we dive in, I want to direct your attention to get email updates. And this is one of the things that I definitely recommend after today's session that you help your student log into AR and then you go ahead and get yourself signed up for your email updates. So I'm going to select here and show you how easy it is to get an email update so you can keep track very easily and automatically of how your students performing with their comprehension quizzes. Now, if this is your first time logging in and seeing AR, you're simply going to select add a new email notification. Simply fill out your name and email and confirm that. And then you'll be able to click submit down here to get those notifications set up. Now, you'll see several things listed here. For example, the STAR Early Literacy Assessment and the Reading Assessment. So that's for very, very young students, and a school has to pay to use that. And so, for example, if you had a kindergartner that was taking the STAR test, that may be one thing that was listed in your student's account that you could get a notification for based on that assessment. But the main one that you want to keep selected right here is Accelerated Reader, and that will be sending you email updates with the score and how your student performed. And you can also see at what reading level the book was on that your student read. Just make sure you click Save Changes. So I'm going to select back, and this is going to take me back to my student dashboard. Now we're going to dive directly into Accelerated Reader. And this is what your student does when they go in to look for a book. And from here, they simply type in the title of the book. I will say sometimes the search results will need more of an exact title in order to help it search a little bit better. So here are 37 items found, and I could scroll through and say, oh, look, there's the book that I've read. And I can see the levels of reading here, how many points I'm going to get for AR if I make 100 on that test. One thing I want to note is students don't always get the max amount of points, but if you get a certain percentage correct, then you'll get a certain percentage of the points that are available to add to the student's points. I simply select Take Quiz. Now, as you can see, this quiz is complete. That means the student has already taken that quiz. So that would actually let the student know they can only take the quiz one time. And so, unless it's been redirected by a teacher for whatever reason or an admin. And so it lets them know that, oh, I've already taken that test, so I'm not going to be able to take it again. So here I've selected one where I'm ready to start the quiz. So I'm simply going to select Reading Practice and click Select Quiz. The students have an option to select how this book was presented to them. I was read to, I read with someone, or I read it completely by myself. And then once they select that, and you can see they have a recorded voice, they can select on or off. That's not necessarily available on every one, but as you can see, this audio is available here. And so, if I wanted that, especially for younger readers, this can be really helpful because the point of AR is to assess their comprehension of the book, not necessarily their reading fluency. So, let's say that I want this off because I'm going to read the questions in my head to myself, and I would click Start Quiz. And then the student would simply move through the questions. As you can see, has 10 questions. And so they would select their answer and then progress to the next screen until they've completed all of the questions available. Some of the younger level books, I would say, kindergarten, maybe even first grade. It really depends on maybe the length of the book and how challenging it is and how many questions it will have. So some books will have maybe only 5 comprehension questions that are aligned with those. But you can see once you start getting into chapter books, the quiz question numbers will be higher. So now that you understand a little bit more about how students go in and search for book titles and take their quiz, I want to show you how they can keep up with their progress. So I'm simply going to select progress. And now you can see I'm on my goals. And this is one thing that the majority of teachers do typically do. They're going to give them an AR goal for every 9 weeks. Some teachers may do every semester. It kind of varies, but usually you'll see a goal. so that your student can begin working towards meeting those goals. And it really helps them to be able to keep up with their own progress, and they get extremely motivated to know that they're getting closer and closer to their goal. And again, in order to meet their goal, they are simply trying to get a certain amount of points. Again, if they're lower level books, they may have to read more books in order to up their points to meet their goal. If it's a higher level book, a chapter book, those are going to be worth more points, and therefore they can reach their goal quicker by reading a more lengthy, in depth book that's appropriate for their reading level. So, as you can see right here, I'm in second quarter, so that's term two. And so here's the end date for their goal, and you can see when they started. And you can see my student here is getting closer and closer to meeting their goal. So as you can see, as they scroll down, they have several things that they can look at here. Overall quiz scores and kind of this average, and what your goal is to be at 80% or higher. So that's good. You could see here that the student is performing a little higher than their goal with those average scores. So that's great. And then over here, you can see book level, and you have my goal is to be at 3 or higher. So that's good. You can see that this student is a little higher than their goal, which means that the books that they are choosing to read and is a little higher than the book level that that's been selected for them. You can also scroll down here, and the students love to see, what kinds of books am I reading? How many quizzes have I passed? Wow, look at how many words I've read. And so you can see here, this student may need to begin working towards a few nonfiction reads, and clearly they must enjoy fiction books a little bit better. And I can vouch for that because this is my student, and she is a fiction reader. Now we're going to take a look at my completed work. The students love to come over here to see, first of all, how many total points do I have overall for the year? And they can see based on every month in the year what books they've read, the scores they've made on these particular books, and it really helps them keep track of things. A lot of times they'll come here to say, now, I forgot, did I read that book before? And they'll come through and look to see, oh, I did read that book. Okay, I'm going to move on to something else. And it just really encourages their reading to have their bookshelves filled with the books and comprehension scores that they've made, and helps them keep track of their progress.